Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Tom Homan might have dropped the calmest nuclear bomb you might ever see on broadcast television when he went on ABC's This Week with Jonathan Karl. Let's dive in.
How do you determine, or how do your people in the field determine that somebody is a gang member?
Look, there's various methods. No, I've noticed in the media this week, a lot of them don't have criminal histories. Well, a lot of gang members don't have criminal histories. Just like a lot of terrorists in this world, they're not in any terrorist database, right? We only know the information what's in databases based on, for instance, most terrorists we arrest that are identified by the U.S. government are later identified through a Title III investigation or through an undercover operation. They're not in any terrorist screening database. We know that. A lot of gang members, I started as a cop in 1984. Many gang members don't have a criminal history. So we have a count of social media. We have a count of surveillance techniques. We have a count on sworn statements from other gang members. We have a count on, wiretaps and Title III. So everything involved with criminal investigations come into play. So just because someone hasn't been arrested and charged with a crime yet, doesn't mean they're a member of a gang.
But how do you? I mean, what we've heard from lawyers representing some of these people is that they deny that they're members of this gang. Or either Tren de Aragua or MS-13. Do they get a chance to prove that before you take them out of the country and put them into a notorious prison in a country that they're not even from? I mean, do they have any due process at all?
Confident. Look, due process. Where was Lake and Ronnie's due process? Where were all these young women that were killed and raped by members of TDA? Where was their due process?
Well, the people that did that should be prosecuted.
Alive on a subway. Where's her due process?
Well, sure.
The bottom line is that plane was full of people designated as terrorists. Number one. Number two. Every Venezuelan migrant on that flight was a TDA member based on numerous criminal investigations, on intelligence reports, and a lot of work by ICE officers. Matter of fact, 2 days after that flight took off, I even had a discussion with the acting director of ICE, and he reiterated that every Venezuelan on that plane was a known member of the TDA. So a lot of officers, a lot of criminal investigators, special agents who've done this for decades, looked at the intelligence information, the criminal investigation information, all the various social media and surveillance and government records and public records, and they are confident that they're all members of the TDA. And I'm not surprised that a member of the family saying they're not a member of the TDA, but they were given due process according to the laws on the books. See, that's the difference between the Trump administration and Biden administration. We're actually using the laws on the books to enforce immigration law and secure the border at the highest level it's ever been. The Biden administration not only ignored the law, they violated law, like District Court in District 5 said that not only are they violating law, they're actually ignoring the law altogether. We are using the laws on the books to enforce our borders, immigration laws, and the interior enforcement enforcement. If you look at the border numbers are down 96%. We already got 40,000 criminals removed by ICE in the interior, which more was done in 6 weeks than the Biden administration did in a year. We're using the laws on the books. We're not making this up. Everything we've done is based on a statute that was enacted by Congress and signed by the president. The president quickly, by proclamation, invoked the authorities he has under the Alien Enemies Act, which he's allowed to do.
Everything about this little clip right here keeps me coming back for more. And first of all, I've got to give some major appreciation, not just to Tom Homan, who is doing a fantastic job as border czar. And by the way, did you catch the little quip there about him being a law enforcement officer since 1984? That's been a long time. We don't fully appreciate the fact that the 1980s weren't 20 years ago. They were 40 years ago. This dude's been in law enforcement for over 40 years now. And the things that he's seen, I'm shocked that it's not made him just this jaded, depressed individual, because he's had some real difficult situations just quite literally being plopped in his arms. He's talked about multiple times where he's held a dying migrant child in his arms, trying to console the child as that child passed on to the next life. So Tom Homan has done some very interesting things, to say the least. And so we should appreciate that just on its face. But the fact that he's able to not only square with that, but then go on mainstream media like ABC's This Week and then deliver this kind of message. Which, by the way, I'm going to get to the nuclear bomb here in just a moment, but I also have to appreciate this host here. All right, Jonathan, this host here, thank you. Thank you for letting Tom Homan speak. Thank you for not trying to interrupt him every step along the way. You're letting this administration speak. You're trying to get their whole perspective on things. Thank you. All right, this is what we need. We need more of this in mainstream media. We need more of this in journalism. There's a reason that the last presidential election was only half-jokingly called the podcast election. And remember, those air quotes are not for sarcasm. Those air quotes are there for emphasis, okay? The podcast presidency. We're starting to realize that as we move forward in this media space, in this full-throated internet age, we're starting to see a shift from the sound bites of about 5 to 10 seconds where you get a good zinger in, and we're starting to see people really want to sit down and understand what certain administrations are actually doing. The Biden administration certainly did not do this, and Tom Homan brought a great offense, not defense, but an offense against the former Biden administration for flaunting federal law. If you are in this country illegally, if you've overstayed your visa, if your green card's expired, or if you hop the border illegally, guess what? You've committed a crime, and there needs to be some recompense for that. Personally, I would rather see a system brought in place where you can buy your way out of this issue, where you would have to pay fines for a certain amount of time, or you would have to pay one big fine all at once. Either way, I think that's the best way to deal with this illegal immigration issue. But we're also seeing a massive shift where we're looking at Democrat policies, okay? And Laken Riley got directly brought up in this video, okay? And Laken Riley was a medical student at the University of Georgia. They just opened up a nursing school. And the University of Georgia is in Athens, Clarke County, which is, in effect, just a third world country, okay? The roads are terrible. The hospitals are old. You're essentially, if you're on the University of Georgia campus, congratulations, you're in the good part of town. But that didn't save Laken Riley. There needs to be a certain change in our policy, just for lack of a better word. But the nuclear bomb in all of this wasn't when Tom Homan was talking about the presidential policy. It was this, okay? The Trump administration is actually going to abide by Judge Boasberg orders here, okay? Tom Homan, President Donald Trump's border czar, vowed Sunday that the Trump administration would not defy court orders stemming from legal challenges over its invocation of the Wartime Alien Enemies Act to deport undocumented migrants from the United States. That's the nuclear bomb here. And again, I actually want to thank This Week, okay? You didn't have your normal host on there. This was a different host, one of their alternates. He did a fantastic job. He was just asking the right questions. And apparently, this dude has done that before in other situations. He even took it to the Biden administration. So yes, this is the kind of media that I want to continue to see. These are the kind of policies that I want to continue to see. Tom Homan is doing a fantastic job, not only dealing with the media, but dealing with the just atrocities that are happening at our southern border as we speak. Things have dropped off a cliff, but congratulations. That's a good thing for the Trump administration. That's a good thing for America, but it's not over yet. The border fight will never fully end. And we've been dealing with this issue for decades, almost a century. Arguably, the reason we were so effective in World War I was because we went over the southern border to go after Zapata, who was crossing the border dealing with crimes, and that's how we got Patton. But that's a longer story for a longer day. But the short version of the story is Tom Homan gives a simple defense of what's being done on the books. The Biden administration refused simply refused to actually deal with the border crisis. They mismanaged their funds. Mayorkas even said himself, when he was the head of the Department of Homeland Security, that he was directed to not be as effective as he could be. He was caught between a rock and a hard place, so I feel bad for the dude for the most part. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.